Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Art, Money, Success podcast. I am your host, Maria Brophy, and today we are going to talk about the pros and cons of selling your art on consignment. Now, consignment is usually done through art galleries, but there are also like retail stores that will say, hey, we'll carry your art or your art products but on a consignment basis. So, what does that mean? And what are the pros and cons of it? That's what we're going to talk about here in the next 10 minutes. And after this podcast, you will have a better understanding of consignment and how it works. So, in a nutshell, I'm just going to read to you out of my book, Art, Money, Success, that you can get on Amazon, by the way, um, what consignment means. Most galleries will require your art to be provided on a consignment basis. This means that you will not be paid until or if and when your art sells. And if your art doesn't sell, then you get it back. Now, with a gallery, the typical deal is 50-50, which means if your art sells for $1,000, when they sell it, they keep 50% and they pay you 50%. And there are a lot of varieties and different ways of doing it. And sometimes you can get more of a percentage, and sometimes they want to give you less of a percentage. And those are all details I can talk about in future podcasts. But for this one, I want to focus on just the pros and cons and things that you should think about. So, the reason I decided to do this series on consignment this week is because I have an art client. I'll call him Fred. And Fred prints his art on some really cool stuff, hats and greeting cards and so forth. And he had a store, not a gallery, but a store that was interested in carrying his products and putting them on display. However, they do not want to place an order. They want him to put his products in there on consignment. Now, for Fred to do this, he's going to have to pay all this money up front to have the products made and deliver them to the store. And then he has to rely on the store to do a great job to sell something that they have no obligation legally or financially to sell. And here I am getting into the pros and cons of it. So I learned a long time ago that consignment is sort of like loaning money to a retailer. And that includes galleries because galleries are retail stores. They call themselves art galleries, and that's what they are. They're a retailer. So if you are super wealthy and you don't mind loaning money to retailers, that's great. But for a lot of artists, it can be a little bit of a financial drag. So that's bringing me into the downside of doing consignment. The cons of doing consignment is that you don't get paid right away, and sometimes you get paid never. When a store takes your work on consignment, there is no real incentive for them to sell it other than they might make money off of it. But I find that with consignment, especially if it's a retail store and they're paying for most of their products up front, but they don't have to pay for your products might get stuck in the back and then they end up not selling as well. The other downside to doing consignment is sometimes your stuff can go missing. It can get stolen, it could get damaged, and ultimately you end up being responsible for it. So you lose money, and usually the retailer is not responsible. Now, you can have an agreement that says they are responsible, and some of them will hold up their end of the deal, but some of them will not. So there's a risk to you, a big risk to you, and there's no risk to them. If you put your work on consignment with too many stores, it becomes a lot of work with very little money unless You're doing it with stores that are just kicking butt with sales of your work. So those are all the cons. The pros of putting your work on consignment is this. Sometimes when you're just starting out in the art business, it helps to get your work in a gallery or in a store, because now you can put that on your website or on your social media sites saying, if you want to see my work in person, this is where you can go. And so you can send people to see it in person somewhere. This is great if you don't have your own studio or art gallery, which most people don't, if you're working out of your home. And so it could expose your work to more people. So that is a definite pro. Another pro is that it kind of makes you look good if you have a list of retailers or galleries that carry your work. And then another pro is if you have your work in galleries that are doing a really good job or retailers that are doing a really good job, it can be a decent income stream. Those are the pros and cons. Now, in my next podcast, I'm going to go deeper into detail about the money end of it and the risk of it, and how consignment could kill your art business if you're not smart about it. So I want you to stay tuned. And also, while you're at it, if you're interested in these topics, how to make money with art, check out my book, Art, Money, Success, on Amazon. I give you so much in this book. I give you details. I give you language to use in your contracts, and so many things to think about that you never would have thought about, and solutions to a lot of the problems. Solutions that I discovered the hard way, and I'm making it easy for you. So check out my book, Art, Money, Success. And hey, if you like this podcast or you like any of my podcasts, please hit the subscribe or like button, whatever button there is right there, and leave me a review or a comment. I would love it. I appreciate it. Thank you for being here. You give me purpose in life. Thank you all. Mwah. Love you. Bye-bye.